Yay!
Welcome to the Auto Authorities Podcast. My name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent, and this is Mr.
David Marks with Quality Auto STL, home of trusted services with no surprises.
Woo!
Hoo.
We have an amazing show today, and this is something that I think is going to blow up out there on how much valuable information that we're going to give today. That good old thing called Carfax. Carfax that everybody loves and adores. And if you don't know what Carfax is, you will know sometime today.
You've been living under the biggest rock I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty much so. This is pretty crazy stuff, everybody. And especially now in the world we live in, this Carfax stuff is going to be important to talk about. We're going to really bust some myths. You will be very surprised by the end of this episode, and you will be more educated. And are you ready to do this, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
Booyah!
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Auto Authorities Podcast. Again, my name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent. This is Mr. David Marks. And I would like to thank myself and Mr. David Marks for being sponsors of this. We've actually had a lot of people coming to us about sponsorship, and we're going to be talking to you soon because we are looking for more sponsors for this show. It is really, really taken off and just getting a lot of great feedback. We're gonna talk a lot about Carfax today. And Carfax is one of the most trusted sources that people use to make an educated decision when you're buying a car. And by the end of this episode, you're going to be more educated. And we're even going to teach you on how to dispute Carfax because, believe it or not, secret time, Carfax is not always correct. Yeah.
No.
I will say they're getting better, but they're not always correct. And we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that, I want to make sure that if you are listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. And there's a little notification button that you can actually click that button. And then you can be notified every time the Auto Authorities Podcast comes into your living room. And if you are listening on Facebook, we actually do this live on Tuesday nights. You go to the Auto Authorities Podcast group page and click the Join Group button, and you can watch our pretty faces online. Well, I'll tell you this. And then one other thing, too. If you're just joining us, we have a special gift for you. If you take out your phone and text the word CAR, C-A-R, to 57838. That's 57838. And what are you going to get for that?
You'll get our free ebook on how to buy a car with no nonsense.
That's right. And you will also be alerted for all of our future podcasts. And you can watch all of our pre-recorded podcasts because we're on about 19 different channels now, aren't we?
Wow. 19? Only 19? Come on.
I think so. But let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about Carfax. What do you know about Carfax, Mr. David Marks?
Well, you know, what I know is that, one, they're on TV and they got that Carfax that, you know, advertise them. And being in that, you know, we both sell cars, you know, people want to say, show me the Carfax. Every car I sell, I get asked, do I have a Carfax? I mean, that's kind of, you know, and they report owners, accidents, mechanical services, that sort of thing. I mean, way more than I do. And each one of these, I learned something new about them. And their shop management system I'm using, we actually report now to Carfax. So I'm educating myself on that side of Carfax as well.
Well, definitely. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take a 30,000 foot overview to start with Carfax. What Carfax is it's a document that you can look at that has a running history of the vehicle that you are purchasing since day one when it was brand new all the way till now. Sounds great. Is it right 100% of the time? No. And we're going to be talking about that and how to spot some potential red flags, some things that may look like red flags that aren't really red flags. But how does Carfax get their information? The ways that Carfax gets their information is, God forbid, if you get in an accident and they do a police report, if Carfax has a partnership with that precinct, it will pop up on Carfax and it'll say accident report. Now, what Carfax is doing, and there's one side of me that likes it and one side that doesn't like it. They have different severities of what the accident was. So you have minor, it may just say damage. It may not be an accident. And then it shows you on the vehicle itself all the different places where the damage took place. Now, I'm going to tell you this because this is a real situation that happened, that we were looking at a Carfax and every single panel on the vehicle had a mark on it.
Wow.
So here's the thing, and this is going to be surprising when you hear this. So you're like, oh my gosh, I would not want to be anywhere near that vehicle. I would write it off right away. But what we did, because these people actually wanted to sell a car with iAutoAgent, and iAutoAgent.com is very, very particular on what vehicles we sell. And it has to meet a very, very high standard. So we asked the seller, and guess what they said? You're not going to believe this.
Hail damage.
Nope. A branch fell on the vehicle. It scratched the paint, which they did repaint it.
Yeah, no biggie.
But that's all it was.
Wow.
And yes. And here's another one. We had a situation where it said the vehicle was sideswiped. That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, that sounds like thousands of dollars when I hear sideswiped.
Yeah, when you think of sideswipe, you think of, well, I won't say anything about my daughter's driving, but it's terrible. I think I may have already talked about that.
Yeah, you have, but we won't go down that rabbit hole.
No, but guess what it was when it said sideswiped?
I brushed up or something.
A mirror.
A mirror. It's a damn mirror.
A damage to the mirror.
Wow.
Someone hit the mirror like when they were driving by.
Oh.
It was parked.
Yeah.
A mirror. So here's the moral of the story. You get them from police reports. You have insurance claims, right? So if you make a claim on your insurance, if your insurance agency is partnered again with Carfax, going to show up. Wonderful technicians like yourself. You have a partnership now with Carfax, and anything that Mr. David Marks does to your vehicle, it's going to show up, right?
Yeah, the good thing is that makes it more valuable because now you can prove service histories because nobody keeps receipts. I get my customers says, hey, Dave, I wrecked my car. I know I just had it in there for service. I need copies of those because I don't like how the insurance company valued my car. Unfortunately, we get those phone calls, but now they're on Carfax. I just say, well, they should be able to figure that out because it's on Carfax.
And also, too, by using Mr. David Marks' service to service your vehicle, technically it makes it more valuable, just like he said, because there's now proof that repair has been completed, and it's very detailed on what it says for that repair. So instead of you having to save all your records, if you go with a company that is partnered with Carfax like that, it will show up, which is a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be a negative for you, though, because if Mr. David Marks is replacing your transmission, that's...
Well, depending on, if you're looking at buying a Nissan that's got the CVT and you see it's got a brand new transmission in it on Carfax, I'd be all over that, because guess what we got in the shop? We got a Nissan Rogue that's getting a brand new transmission from Nissan.
We have really harped on Nissan with the CVTs, haven't we?
No, I should send them thank you cards. They keep me in business.
You should also send them the Cadillac, too. Shout out to Bobby. Our good old client, Bobby.
Yeah, we got to get Bobby's got to be in every episode.
Bobby, are you listening?
Bobby.
Because Bobby, if you're going to buy a car, and I know you won't listen because you never do, then you may want to listen to this. And then finally, the DMV actually reports when your vehicle is inspected.
State inspection when it's state required.
When you license your car. And it also will show is if you take out a lien on your vehicle. So it'll show that there's a lien on the vehicle. So if you're getting ready to buy a vehicle, it would be nice to have a Carfax. I've been known to give away some free Carfaxes to people before.
Nah, never.
Yeah, I do. I'm a nice guy.
No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate them. So, well, that shows.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You ask for Carfaxes about every day. I forgot about that.
No, not every day.
Not every week.
So if somebody goes to one of those title loan places, like Title Max, and they have that'll pop up on Carfax?
In theory, yes. But in reality,
no.
Maybe not. And this is where we're going to get into some things that Carfax is not 100% accurate. And we're going to get into our next topic where we're going to talk about red flags to look out for Carfax. And then we're going to talk about how to dispute Carfax. Because just because Carfax says it doesn't mean it's the Bible. It's not written in blood. Right? That means that if it's reported and it's inaccurate, we're going to show you how to take care of it today on this very valuable podcast episode. So when it comes to Carfaxes, if it is not a partnership with Carfax, and this is where it gets very scary, just because it says no accidents does not mean that it has had no accidents. And just because it says it has an accident doesn't mean it was a bad accident.
No. Listen to this, Jay.
Yeah.
So at Manheim, they got the TRA sale. So
now you got to explain to everybody what Manheim is and what a TRA sale is.
Okay, Manheim is the nation's largest dealer-only auction house. Dealer-only auction in the nation, okay? And one of their sales is called the TRA sale.
Okay.
Total Resource Auctions is what TRA stands for. So that's where they sell stuff that's severely wrecked, doesn't start, or it's donated, because those sales are all strictly as is. There's no arbitration, and they don't guarantee keys. It's a buyer beware auction. So what I was told is that the rental car companies at Manheim here in St. Louis, Enterprise, Avis, Hertz, when they sell those cars that are all wrecked, none of those are reported to Carfax, because those are rental cars that people rented and they paid for their insurance. When you pay for it, you pay that extra. So it's an in-house insurance policy. They take them straight to the auction and sell them. They don't fix them.
Wow. This is a big one. I hope everybody's listening to this. I did not know that. That is freaking scary is what it is.
Yeah, because they're going to be running 2022s through there already.
Holy cow. So I'm actually speechless on that, and that doesn't happen very often. But
I'll grab a VINJ from Manheim and we'll run a couple just to verify this. I mean, I don't buy that type of stuff. I don't buy 2022 with 500 miles on it that's been wrecked, but they sell them every week. And talking to other guys that buy out of there, they told me none of these are on Carfax.
Well, what's interesting is, and I cannot say the name right now, but it starts with a C and ends with an A. and they do online sales, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I know some inside information that I'm going to use the word higher ups that I know. Every single vehicle that they see from this company is wrecked when it comes in. And I know that they buy a lot of their vehicles from Manheim, and they also buy a lot of vehicles from the rental fleet. And this makes all the sense in the world. And they will use the terminology, we do not sell any reported accidents at this
the keyword
company.
reported. Keyword is reported.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I'll post some, I'll get some VINs we'll do this for a few weeks, Jay, and just verify this because it's easy to do.
This is a big one, everybody, if you're listening to this. All right, so before I forget to, I wanted to once again thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com, real estate agents for people's cars. They will sell your car, do everything for you. You never leave your home, and you get a check at the end at no cost to the seller. And iAutoAgent.com helps people buy vehicles nationwide so you don't have to navigate through the buying process. It's brutal. It's a waste of time, and we will do it for you on a contingency basis. And this is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, trusted services with no surprises. He's doing things right, folks. He's doing things right. And if you're just tuning into this and you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the Auto Authorities Podcast on YouTube and click the notification button, the little bell in the right corner, and then it will. I was going to say annoy you because that was a little annoying. It will alert you. It will alert you when we have our new podcast. And if you want to watch this baby live on the Auto Authorities Podcast on our Facebook group page, simply click join group button and share this with everybody. Share this beautiful knowledge. And if you're just joining us, we are giving away a free gift. And if you take out your phone right now and you type in the word CAR, C-A-R, and you text that to 57838, that's CAR to 57838, you will receive our free ebook, How to Buy a Car Without the Nonsense. And of course, our wonderful podcast, you will be alerted every single time one pops up. And you can listen to all of our podcasts on 19 different channels. And we're going to get into the good stuff now, aren't we?
Ooh, yeah.
What are the red flags to look out for what are the red flags you look out for, Mr. David Marks? If you're looking at Carfax, because you ask me to send them to you about once every day, what are you looking for?
Obviously the big one is owners and accidents. For me, I want to look for a consistent maintenance history. Look, I don't care about the mechanical repairs because they all break. I don't care. You spend $500,000 on a Rolls Royce. They got Rolls Royce technicians. It doesn't matter. It's going to break.
Yep.
But you want to see patterns for maintenance patterns. Have they changed the oil on a regular basis? At 100,000 miles, if was a transmission fluid service, was a coolant service, that's the stuff that I care about is the maintenance items because it's going to break. Otherwise, we would have all these. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in business like we are, Jay. Where there's car businesses everywhere. It's because the stuff breaks. So and then I guess the other thing to look at is who owned it, and how long. We see a lot of them where the first owner was a rental or a company or a fleet, and then from there it's potluck.
Those are really, really good ones. In fact, what I like to do is when people hire iAutoAgent.com to do the buyer's agents, I like to look at the destination and where that vehicle originated from. Because a lot of people don't realize, and I'm going to give a golden nugget here. Ooh. Did you know that, and I may have already talked about this before, but if I didn't, when vehicles are coming from Canada, so we were working on a buyer's agent the other day, and something so it said converted from kilometers to miles because that's a Canadian car. The problem with Canadian cars are it loses the information. Like, so for instance, if there was a reported accident, there was a flood, it loses that information from the transfer from Canada to the United States a lot.
Huh.
And yeah. And so wouldn't you think that the Canadians would keep the vehicles if they were so nice? No, they're gonna shift the crap down to the United States. And that's why when you look at a Canadian vehicle on a Carfax, it is less expensive than a US born vehicle.
Now, you mean stuff that's assembled in Canada for the US market, or stuff that's assembled in Canada for the Canadian market and they get sold secondhand in the US?
The second one.
The second one, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess, you know, when you bring up the destination, so it's like, okay, if a vehicle was in Arizona, it's a dry state, we don't have to worry about rust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't. If a vehicle's been in Arizona its whole life, well, it's rust free. That doesn't exist in Arizona. You know, but here in Missouri, we deal with rust every day at my shop.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because that's a really good point. And the places that you want to watch out for. Now, the disclosure laws are very different in other states than they are here in Missouri. The disclosure laws are pretty darn good in Missouri. But when you go to places like Arkansas and Texas and Florida, the rules are different, everybody. And me being an automotive advisor on TV here in St. Louis for Fox and CBS, I go on a lot. And I did a flood damage one, because where do you think the flood vehicles go? Do you think they just disappear? No, they're big pieces of metal. They go to the auction, and some unsuspecting person, well, the people that buy it at the auction, they know, but the people that buy it from the dealer, they don't know. And in places like Texas and Florida that have flooded, that's important. And
I got a question.
Okay, David, what do you want?
Okay, so I've heard that if you're really slick, these slick dealers, they can get a car so if a car's been branded salvaged, they can retitle it in another state and then bring it back to the original state, and it's clean now.
That's called washing a title, yes.
Yeah. Will Carfax have any way to police that?
They're getting better at it. Carfax has gotten a lot better over the years. I used to say 80% of Carfaxes are inaccurate, and now I'm like about 30%.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because that's something that I would think these guys, because the auction's going to know it's flooded, and they're going to announce that. So if they get these titles, they're taking it to another state, cleaning it, and they're playing the state game. So that way they can sell the car. We don't know nothing about no flood.
It's usually caught, but not all the time. And then here's another thing too, is multiple dealer changes. So when you have a Carfax and like it has this dealer had it, but then another dealer bought it and another dealer, and like there's no private owners in between.
That's a huge red flag. That means they're just passing it on because
they're passing the buck.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason they don't want it.
I could tell you another story. I have to tell you it because I have a hard
time. Story time.
There is a dealership here in St. Louis. I won't name the name. It's a large dealership. They purchased a vehicle from another dealership, which is the same dealership that I had talked about earlier, that starts with a C, ends with an A, and they do online sales. And one of my friends actually bought this vehicle, and he had nothing but problems with, he had a check engine light come on. To make a long story short, he calls me and said, Jay, what do I do? Like, oh, that's not right. I did the history report, and I dug into it. It said that the vehicle had been, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was basically like a salvage title, but it didn't say salvage title. It was hit very hard from the front. And so when they brought it back, a little birdie said to them at the dealer, they alluded that there was a major problem with this car and it shouldn't have been sold.
Ooh.
And that car came from, see how this all comes around? The company that starts with a C, ends with an A, that does online sales. Isn't that something? And it had been wrecked. Remember what we were just talking about? So we could probably have, we can go on and on with this because we have so many other different things, and do a part 2 on this because I got a lot more to say.
No, you never do.
Oh my gosh. I could tell you story after story because
I've got stories too. I've seen it work. Carfax is and auto check. You know, we haven't even talked about that. They say this, they say this. It's like, who the hell do you believe? You know, for me, Jay, if I'm looking at a car, I care about what is the condition of it as a present moment. That history is great, but I only take that so far.
So I think that you're bringing up a really, really good point, because in the part 2 episode, we can talk about auto check, because auto check's a completely different animal. It's a history report, but it's a completely different animal.
Yeah, because we get them at Manheim free. Well, it's included. We don't pay for it, but we pay for it another way.
You don't get the full report though. Like I can get the full report for the auto check, and we really do need to dig into that more on a part 2. But the last thing I want to leave with is, because we did promise you on how to dispute a Carfax. So if you're looking at a Carfax and you feel like, let's say it's your vehicle and you're like, I didn't have the miles roll back. That was the service station that rotated my tires. Because if they just type in 1 digit wrong, so this just happened. You know, the vehicle has 90,000 miles, and then all of a sudden the next thing says it has 9,000 miles, and then the next one says it has 92,000 miles. It's like, wait a second. But that's obviously a clerical error. So how do you dispute that? You simply go to support.carfax.com. And what you're going to do is there's an online form. So it's support.carfax.com, and you're going to fill it out as best as you can. It even gives you a way to upload what you're disputing. And let me tell you something. I have a friend that has a Lamborghini, and she wanted to sell the vehicle, and it actually has a mileage rollback on Carfax. And it's very obvious. What happened is when they licensed that vehicle in Illinois, they put the wrong mileage in. And now it's just like a trigger. It just keeps triggering rollback, rollback, rollback. It's very obvious that it's a clerical error. And we're going to talk about this more in part 2. But if that is not corrected, you're talking about it's an older one. I think it's an 05, but you're probably talking about a $200,000 car. That could be a $20,000 to $30,000 to $50,000 deduction. That alone.
Well, yeah, then it tells you what else is the story on this car. If the odometer's been rolled back, what else has been fudged or forged?
Yeah. And there's probably more skepticism with a vehicle like that than ever. And the people that are buying these vehicles, they're not just
They're not Joe Blow. They're not Bobby.
They're not Bobby. They're very educated buyers, and Bobby isn't. Bobby makes bad decisions, and hopefully Bobby has been listening for all of our podcasts, because Bobby. We all know Bobby, don't we? And you can tell him till you're blue in the face, Bobby, this is how it's going to be. But unfortunately, Bobby just doesn't listen sometimes. Well, we're out of time, but we have a part 2 coming up, and we have a lot more to talk about. Like, there's so much more to dig into this. We're going to talk about auto checks, and Anyway, Mr. David Marks, you have any final remarks?
No, sir.
Stay tuned for part 2. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.